Hello everyone, Professor MoneyPigTrading. Today, December 26, 2022, Merry Christmas. We're going to talk about a pharmaceutical company that we covered a while ago. The ticker name is TGTX. The full name is TG Therapeutics. December 28, 2022, this Wednesday, FDA is going to make an important decision on the relapsing multiple sclerosis drug, or MS. The stock will move either way hugely, depends on the FDA decision. So let's take a look. So really quick disclaimer, we currently are holding TGTX stocks and long call options. We do not represent any pharmaceutical company. Any medical questions, please consult your doctor. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe our YouTube channel. Really quick about TG Therapeutics. Founded in 2012, based in New York, they focus on B-cell related cancer and autoimmune disease such as leukemia or MS. It has been a miserable 2 years for TGTX, and just like any early biotech startup, they have early pipeline. The stock price is just like this. And so weekly chart on the left side in the past 4 years. You can see when we made the last video back to 2020, TGTX was pushing on nicely from $8 to $56 because of their drugs advancing on clinical trials against cancer, leukemia specifically. So what happened is the stock price was highly rewarded, and because the general market witnessed in the weakness in the past 1 year, and plus their cancer drug pipeline have some concerns on FDA, and then eventually even approved by FDA, got withdrawn by FDA because FDA has concern on this whole PI3K inhibitors against leukemia, and eventually pull down all this drug, which also negatively affect TGTX. You can see the stock price hitting all-time high $56, tank all the way down to $4, and right now it's lingering around all-time low. The year low around $4 to $8, waiting for this MS drug approval. So currently the TGTX pipeline, all the cancer pipeline got halted because they need to save cash and focus on this MS, which I will have a big announcement this Wednesday. And we do think the cancer drug development being paused is actually a good idea since the company really need to preserve cash for MS development and commercialize. However, if that also means if the MS drug is not approved, this stock actually will become a zombie stock and will have about 4 quarters of cash left, and probably won't be enough time for them to revive the cancer pipeline. So that's a risk that we'll talk about later, but really quick overview. So again, we talked about this. FDA will have a big decision on December 28 on this TGTX TG1101 against this relapsing MS. So what is MS? So it's basically a disease that the immune system eats away the protective covering of the nerves. So that will result a lot of damages, disruption, communication between the brain and the body, causing many different symptoms, including vision loss, pain, fatigue, impaired coordination, etc. So it's a really serious disease, and there are many different types of MS. Today we're going to focus on the relapsing MS, which constantly come back and affect the patient's daily life. And currently, there's no 100% cure against relapsing MS. However, there are multiple existing drugs. The TG1101 does show good phase 3 clinical trials against relapsing MS. However, they only compare itself to a me-too drug that's called Aubagio. Basically, you can see the phase 3 trial, it does show clinical significance where p-value is pretty low, that it does perform better against this orally available drug. So let's take a look at other existing relapsing MS drugs. So we talk about Aubagio is the orally available drug. So it's not doesn't require any injection. It does have some black box warning, which is not ideal. That does have some serious side effects, again, including liver injury, the risk of birth defects if you take it during pregnancy. So the second generation is called Kesimpta. It does require injection, which is under the skin injections. However, the injection only takes seconds, and you have to do it around once per month or once every 3 weeks. However, this drug also has some problem, has some black box warning, which is not ideal, which can cause some like hepatitis B reactivation, and also can weaken the immune system, cause some upper tract infection. The third generation is called Ocrevus. It's actually an IV drug. However, it takes 2 to 3 hours to have this IV injection drug done. So you have pretty much you have to go to outpatient center to have this IV drug done. It will take about every 6 months to have one IV done. So currently there's no black box warning on this drug. It has about 25% of the patients have infusion reactions. So currently the TG1101, even though there's no clinical trial directly compared to these two drugs, but like we saw in the last slide, it does have a clinical trial directly against compared to this Aubagio, and does show clinical significance improvement compared to Aubagio. It also is an IV drug for TG1101. The significant improvement over here compared to Ocrevus is it only takes 1 hour for the IV injection to finish, compared to Ocrevus, which take 2 to 3 hours. They are both just require one IV injection every 6 months. And whether this TG1101 will have black box warning is TBD. If it doesn't, we do think the stock price will go up further. We'll discuss in the next slide. So the side effect, that's another potential improvement from Ocrevus, is only 5% of the patients has infusion reactions compared to 25% of the patients for Ocrevus. But again, there's no direct clinical trials compared to these two, so those are kind of indirect evidence. So for relapsing MS, there's a really big market, and the market continues to grow in terms of the global sales. One of the Ocrevus that we looked at, it actually had $2 billion sales in 2018 and achieved $4 billion in 2019. This is an older slide we used in 2020, so the numbers are a little staged, but still can show you that this market size is actually pretty good. And TGTX management does expect that the global market for relapsing MS is larger than $30 billion by 2025. So there are some risks that to invest TGTX right here. So first of all, of course, is FDA doesn't approve this drug. We only see the data that TGTX management told us during the earning reports, but we don't see the data they actually submitted to FDA. So there's a gap, and the FDA could still reject the case here. And also, we have seen that happen this year, which is kind of ridiculous, is FDA might haven't inspected TGTX production facility due to work from home situation. And we have seen that in the ticker name FERU for you, their FDA approval case, which got delayed, which is kind of ridiculous. Whether that will happen on Wednesday, we just have to see. And even if TG1101 is approved, marketing will be difficult because this is a relatively young company. They haven't done a lot of full-scale marketing like bigger pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer or their competitor here, Roche. So that's another thing I have to think about. And the other thing where we don't know and we don't have any ideas is about the price of this drug. And also the insurance coverage and the fees will also be the critical part, whether doctors will subscribe this to the relapsing MS patients. So that's one thing we have to think about. And right now we just don't have any details. And also, even they have good insurance coverage, the first few months of sales will be slow because it's an IV drug. Any IV drug will require an insurance J-code. Before they get J-code, they will have to build several multiple codes, which make the sales pretty difficult, and hospitals usually don't like it. So until they get this insurance J-code, the sales probably won't scale out as much as everyone hopes. And also, not to mention, there's a lot of competitors still in the pipeline that might provide a better drug than this TG1101 in the next few years. So that's another TBD factor here. And then last and most is the management. So the CEO does ask $40 million compensation last year, which I think is a little absurd because the stock price has performed so badly and the CEO is asking for such a big compensation. So in my opinion, just not a very good sign. And let's take a look at potential price action upon this FDA approval decision or not. So TGTX on the daily charts on the left side is currently forming a really good bull flagging. Last time the earning had a huge jump, about 50% jump. It's because the management actually provided that they discussed the labeling with FDA. So that suggests a really possible and positive feedback from FDA in terms of approval. So the stock price jumped quite a bit and pull back and is range bound right now, forming a bull flagging. You can see on the weekly chart, like we mentioned, it's just a really bad pulling back in the past 2 years and now curling from the low. So in our opinion, based on all the information, we do think there's 75 to 80% of the chances FDA will approve this TGTX TG1101 by Wednesday, December 28, 2022. So there are a few scenarios here. If the FDA approves the drug, however, FDA requires a black box warning on the label, which we think is less likely based on at least the clinical trial results we see. The upside will be $12 to $15. However, if FDA requires no black box labeling, which we think most likely is the case, the upside of TGTX stock in the short term will be $15 to $20. However, if FDA doesn't approve this drug, like we said, TGTX will drop to $4 to $5 and become a zombie stock, just stay there until they burn off the cash. Then the stock will go to zero, maybe file bankruptcy, unless they figure something out or bring more capitals into the company. Currently, it's really hard to estimate the sales of this drug. We do some rough math and estimation. We're expecting $150 million sales in 2023, and maybe potentially $300 million sales in 2024. We have to see if the drug get approved, how the earning report goes in the next 3 quarters in 2023, and we can project better in terms of 2024 sales. However, if we use a PE ratio, PE ratio equal to 20, we do think $23 is a fair market value in the second half of 2023. You might question like, okay, why after the drug get approved, this thing might, even with, if there's no requirement for black box labeling, why the stock price will be 20? Because there's a lot of short interest, right about 18%. So we do think if it got approved and without black box labeling, the stock price will shoot up with gamma squeeze and short squeezing. Potential will push in 20 and start to pull back into maybe $15 to $20 range. But however, fundamentally within $23 is a fair market value second half of 2023. And if they can reach $300 million of sales, we do think $42 per share is a really fair market value in the second half of 2024. So right now it's a lot of TBD in the long term, but in short term we do see there's some potential pretty massive move either side based on the FDA decision. So any question, feel free to leave the comment down below or reach us out on info@moneypigtrading.com. And we also have a really robust Discord community. Make sure to check us out on www.moneypigtrading.com. And also we're on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or MoneyPigTrading. Feel free to join us and get the latest investment education. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.